Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. I am your host, Joe Barton with Barton Publishing and Barton Nutrition. Happy to have you. So if you're watching this, that means you're on YouTube, probably. And I wanted to invite you to join us live because we do these webinars every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And we go over the Diabetes Solution Kit program. And this is with Dr. Scott Saunders, who is a functional doctor in California, who's been with us for many, many years. He's our medical advisor. And these calls are really for you, for people that have purchased the Diabetes Solution Kit and want help along the way. This is our community. It's a free resource for you to help you on your journey from going from type 2 to type 2 in remission. And so we're going to actually be talking about that on today's webinar. And I was sort of trying to man the controls here because Leslie is out recovering from an ACL surgery that she had this week. And so I forgot to record the first couple minutes, but I'll just add it right here because we have a great editor. Thank you, Cedric, my son. Good job. And so this is the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can register at bartonwebinar.com. Highly recommend you visit bartonwebinar.com. Have that open while you're watching this this YouTube video. But from there, you can register for watching us live. You can find a link on how to purchase the Diabetes Solution Kit. You can either get the ebook form or the workbook form, or you get the workbook and the ebook together. You can learn about our supplements. We talk about Synacroma today. You'll see that in just a little bit. And today was really good. It's the type 2 basics. Every other week, we talk about just the basics of type 2. I've got this list here on my whiteboard. If you wanted to pause the video, these are like the keys to success in reversing type 2. We're going to go through the first 6 of them today. And we talk about all of them a little bit, but for sure the top 6, we're going to get into that right away. And then Dr. Saunders had to leave us at the end of the hour, but we hung on, Cheryl and I did, at the end and answered a few more questions and hopefully provided some more help. And so thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoy this webinar, and feel free to leave comments in the YouTube channel or on the YouTube page. If you have any questions in there, we'll add those to our list for next time. And what else? Oh, if you like us, we would love for you to like this video and hit subscribe. And then you can get notified anytime we have a new webinar come out. So I think we're on number 89. We've done 89 of these webinars every week, 89 in a row. And it's a fantastic resource. Without further ado, Dr. Saunders and the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. Hey, I'm recording now. All that stuff I just said, YouTube is going to miss out on. Oh, well, they can watch some other episodes for all that stuff. But yeah, that's one of the things that I forgot last time when Leslie was gone. I forgot to record it. So anyways, we're recording now. Good job, everyone. Okay, well, Cheryl is here with us. And Cheryl, feel free to ask questions. We're pretty informal on this. People like it when we're real, and we're not perfect all the time. Sometimes, but well, not really. But yeah, let's get into type 2 basics. Dr. Saunders, what do you think of my list I've got here over my shoulder?
I think it's a great list. It's kind of all over the place, and so it's not like organized into a list.
Right. Wow. Sort of.
But it's a great list. If you start with the basics, and the bottom line is that diabetes or type 2 is too much, and it's too much of a lot of different things, but it's primarily too much sugar. The body runs on sugar, and we need sugar, and everybody goes, oh, we need sugar. And sugar tastes good, and it's something that we crave, we want, we need. And that includes carbohydrates of all kinds. So not all kinds, sugar and starch primarily, because there's other carbohydrates that are called fiber. But the sugar and starch are things that people love and crave, and so we eat them a lot. And because we eat them a lot, our cells fill up with sugar, and then they block the insulin receptor, saying, "Nah, I'm over full. I can't take anymore." And then we get what's called insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is when your cells are full of too much. There's actually one other thing that causes insulin resistance, and a lot of people don't know this, but fat causes insulin resistance. So people who eat sugar and starch together with fat. So if you look at something like
ice cream. I knew you were gonna say that.
Someone on the panelist loves ice cream. Wearing blue today.
I know. Ice cream, sugar, fat, right? And then fried foods like French fries or potato chips or corn chips. You know, that's sugar, which is glucose, which is the starch, and then it's fat because it's fried in oil. So those kind of combinations are the worst kinds of things you could do for type 2. So the best thing you can do is separate them out. So what we do in the diabetes solution kit to reverse this process is to remove all that extra sugar, take all the sugar out. And all of it, of course, you're not going to remove all of it. So we have 20 grams a day. Now, 20 grams is not very much. You can eat like an apple and a half, and that's all you get, unless it's a big apple, then you just get one. And that's all you get the whole day of sugar. So you can see that, you know, one slice of toast, that's all you get. You're done. There's your 20 grams, right? That's almost 17. That's almost 20 grams right there. So you can see it's a very small amount. It's not enough sugar for your body to live on. So essentially what it's doing, it's training your body to use fat instead of sugar. And over time, then your insulin resistance drops down. And as you're doing this, your insulin resistance is dropping down. So your cells are able to take in the sugar, and you're eating only a little bit of sugar. So your cells are opening up. I want more. I want more. And the insulin becomes very sensitive. And that allows you then to drop down to normal blood sugar. So the idea of this 20-gram carbohydrate diet is that you get down to a blood sugar. So testing is on Joe's list. If you test and you have that information on a regular basis, and you know your blood sugar is getting down into the, well, if you're in Canada, 4 to 5, if you're in the United States, it's in the 70 to 90 range. That would be the optimum place to be, 70 to 90. That what that does is that is a normal blood sugar. That's where you get everything functioning well. Your kidneys function well, your brain functions well, your heart functions well. And that's where you stop getting all the problems with like losing kidney function, losing brain and heart function. So that is the ideal. So once you get to that 70 to 90, you're consistently there for several weeks. Then you go, aha, I'm ready to start on phase 2. And then you can start adding things in, and you still measure, you're checking your blood sugar, and you're going, gosh, every time I eat French fries, my blood sugar shoots way up. I had somebody tell me the other day he ate a burrito and his blood sugar hadn't been over 150, and all of a sudden it was over 200. I go, yeah, well, you know, you learned something about burritos, right? Actually, it was a chimichanga. It's worse, right? Because it's fried in oil, and so you have all that extra oil with the carbohydrates, and then so the oil makes you resistant, and then you can't absorb it, and then your blood sugar just shoots way up. So he's like, okay, fine. So he went back on the low carb and did intermittent fasting until he's working on that right now.
What about coconut oil? Is that going to help you?
Coconut oil Okay, so during the time that you're on the very low carbohydrate and you don't need, and insulin resistance isn't going to be an issue, then coconut oil is not going to be a problem. It becomes a problem when you start adding carbohydrates in. So one of the things, that's a great question, Cheryl, because one of the things I told him was, if you eat like a meal with carbohydrates, so let's say you're having a bunch of fruit. If you have fruit, then that's okay. Even though you have a lot of carbohydrates, as long as you don't have any oil. And then on other days, you can have something like meat with vegetables and no carbohydrates. So if you have a potato and you don't put any sour cream or butter or eat it with meat or fats or anything, then you may find a potato is fine for you. But as soon as you add stuff like fat onto it, like sour cream or something like that, then it may block your insulin and you may find your blood sugar shoots way up. So yeah, that's why it's testing. That's why your phase 2 is a testing thing. It's not like everybody does the same thing. On phase 1, everybody does the same thing. But phase 2, it's all individual. It's you.
Yeah, Andy Stubbs says, why eat it then? You don't eat a potato without butter.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people don't do that. But there are ways. There's air fryers now, and there's the pans that you can make like hash browns and stuff like that, and you can still eat potatoes and still have like hash browns that don't have to have any oil on them. So there are ways of doing that if you like. And then if you like potatoes and you mix it in with other stuff like green peppers and vegetables, you chop them up and mix them in with the potatoes. Some people like it that way. So it's, it's individual tastes, of course. But yeah, I kind of agree with that. If I can't put butter on a baked potato, why eat it?
One thing we hear from customers is fasting actually really works. But I think when you talk about intermittent fasting, it's like, what does that mean? Because aren't there different ways to fast? Just skipping breakfast. There's an 18-hour fast. There's a if you're one body type, you should do 3 days on, 2 days off. How do you know what kind of intermittent fasting works for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the only way you know is by testing different ways. So we've discussed in several of our webinars here, we've discussed different ways of fasting. So Joe's number 2 on his list was, or number 3 was a 6-10 reset. And that is where we do the intermittent fasting by skipping dinner. No food after 6 and in bed by 10 is what it is. So you eat breakfast and lunch. And a lot of people, like the man I was talking to the other day, was skipping dinner is the best way to do it. So a lot of people that do intermittent fasting will say, well, my 5-hour window of eating is lunch and to dinner. But they skip breakfast, and that's okay, because you still have that 18 hours or 20 hours of 19 hours of fasting. But if you skip dinner, it actually works with your circadian rhythm better, where you lose weight better, and you get less stress response. And that was also on Joe's list. If you looked at Joe's list on the basics, he had stress on there. And decreasing stress is very important. And one important way to do that is to be in bed by 10. So you get good sleep, good restorative sleep. But go to bed on an empty stomach is really important. So skipping dinner is better than skipping breakfast.
And sometimes you have to look at it as, you think of stress as outside factors, well, yes, you needed a lot of sleep, or maybe get rid of the stress of television, but sometimes you can realize food stresses your body, because it has to, then your body's stressed. How do I digest this? How do I process this? So by eliminating foods, that's actually sometimes that takes the stress off your body.
Oh my gosh, Cheryl, that's so true. I'm going to make a confession. Last Saturday, there was a party for someone, a going away party, and they had lemon lemon cake there, and I just love lemon cake and lemon bars. I like lemon anyway, but especially something like a lemon cake. So I ate some, and of course one bite wasn't enough, so I had to have another one. And then there was, oh, that lemon bar over there, and then I ate one of those. And when I was done, I was like, I don't feel good. I felt kind of like it's a stressful thing. And I'm like, okay, I got to detox. So I fasted a whole day. The whole next day, I didn't eat anything all day. You got to unstress your body by taking out the foods that stress you.
Mhm.
It's interesting. People often know what those foods are, and what will stress you won't stress me, for example.
Right.
We're all different
Relative.
as far as that goes.
Keep those questions coming in. You can enter them in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll be getting to those a little bit later here. And in the meanwhile, let's keep going through this list here. So
now we're done. We've done the stress. Now, what's the one after stress? Minimal
sweets.
Sweets. Okay. The taste of sweet. Oh my gosh, you guys, taking out the taste of sweet is important. Okay, sweet causes the release of cortisol, adrenaline. The sweet taste, especially with sugar, any kind of sugar does it, but even for some people, even artificial sweeteners. And artificial sweeteners cause insulin resistance. They increase cortisol. And I don't know if I've told this before, but to fatten up cows, one of the things they use is sweet taste, and they use artificial sweeteners. So there's a sweetener called neotame. It's thousands of times sweeter than sugar. So you only need tiny amounts to make things really sweet. And they feed it to cows when they want to fatten them up. And then the cows, they said it was because they eat more because it's sweet. But there's probably another mechanism there, and that is to raise the insulin levels and cause more insulin resistance, because it raises the stress hormone levels as well. So that sweet taste causes those cows to get fatter than they would if they just ate their regular feed. So that's been studied in aspartame and other sweeteners that are 300 times sweeter than sugar. People gained more weight on diet sodas than they did on regular sodas, even though they're both sweet, right? And they're drinking just as much. But the ones on the diet sodas actually gained more weight. So the sweet taste is big, guys. It's big. Avoiding sweets altogether. And I know, I'm a sweetaholic. I love sweets. That's what I do. And I fall all the time. I fall for them.
So are you kind of saying we're eating diabetic cows in a way?
Well, in a sense, yeah, we're running the cows into metabolic syndrome with insulin resistance and getting them pretty close to, if not with diabetes, to fatten them up. Wow. Because, they get paid by the pound. So
is this in their grain? Is that where they're putting this, or how are they giving these cows that sweetener?
Well, they're giving it in their feed. So instead of just having the hay or the feed or whatever, they put in a sweetener with that. It's not that unusual. For horse feed, they used to put molasses in a lot of, like, mix it with the oats and the grains and stuff, and then that allows the animal to hold on to more food. It's interesting. Horses are so useful because of grains and these kinds of foods, because they can go all day on that. Whereas if they're eating only grass, they have to eat all day long. They're all day long with their face in the grass. Or else, if you give them grains, especially if you put things like molasses or sweeteners in them, they can go all day without eating.
That's why if you're interested in eating healthy, you have to find beef that is pasture raised and pasture finished. Because some will say pasture raised, but they don't often they're fattening them up right at the end by all these other sweeteners. So it's good to find pasture finished beef as well, because that eliminates that kind of chemical nonsense we need, and we don't need in our bodies either.
Exactly. That is important. Yeah.
Might not taste as good if it's not corn finished, but throw some butter on there. That always makes it good.
Yeah, that's what they do at the really high priced steakhouses. They fry the steak in butter.
Yeah,
that really makes a difference.
It does.
Okay, so the next on your list is fiber, and you know what? If you could replace all of your other carbohydrates with fiber, you're so much better off than replacing all those carbohydrates. Because we're on the 20-gram carbohydrate diet. Replace all the carbs that you were eating. Replace it with fiber, which is also carbohydrate, and that fiber will grow good bacteria in your intestines. It'll help prevent things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. It'll get rid of inflammation in your body. Fiber is so good and so important for you that I can't even stress how important that is. Instead of replacing all those carbohydrates with fat, which a lot of people do when they eat like a carnivore diet or a ketogenic diet, they say, oh, ketogenic diet, like the Atkins diet. I remember somebody came in and was telling me all about having a bacon, sausage, cheese omelet with cream to drink. And that was their breakfast in the morning. And I'm like, really? Okay. It does have a lot of nutrition, a lot of nutrients there. But there's no fiber in any of that. It's just like there's a lot of fat, a lot of protein, and no fiber at all.
What are like 3 or 4 high fiber foods?
Okay, so the best source of fiber is beans. If you look at all the foods we eat, the only food that is associated with actual longevity, living longer, is beans. And that's beans of all kinds, whether you're talking about chickpeas or green beans or pinto bean. And that hard. A man after my own heart.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, Ronald Reagan would be proud. Pinto beans, black beans, navy beans, white beans. Beans are great. And I know there's several doctors out there who are saying, beans are horrible because they have lectins in them. They're going to kill you. And actually, if you were to take raw red beans and just take a handful of them and eat them, you could die. There's enough lectins to poison you, and you could die. So what they're saying is not untrue. But if you take those beans and you soak them and pour off the superdate, and then you boil them for a while, then you've removed the lectins so that they're really good. In fact, it's the only food that's associated with longevity. So if you treat them properly, then or those new instant pots, the pressure cookers, those are really good too. Those get rid of lectins pretty well. So there's no more toxins in the beans. And you have to think. What's that?
What about edamame? Is that a bean or a pea?
Oh, that's actually a bean. That's a legume. And so are peanuts, by the way. Peanuts are actually beans. And beans, peas, lentils, because they have a lot of magnesium in them and they have a lot of fiber. So beans are the best source of fiber, and they're really good source of fiber. Black beans are really high in fiber compared to like pinto beans have less fiber in them. And then fruit and vegetables, fruits, vegetables, beans, that's the best way to go for getting fiber.
But beans have high carbs, don't they? So should that be like put off until phase 2?
Yes. Okay. So in phase, good. Okay. So fruits and beans are going to be avoided during phase 1. During phase 1, you get all the vegetables you want. There's free foods. There's a whole list of free foods on there. So you can have as much celery as you want, as much lettuce and cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower and spinach. All of that is free. So if you're saying, dang, I'm so hungry, you can have any of those: peppers, cucumbers, all those on the list, and you're going to get a lot of fiber. And it's so much better than snacking on things that have high, like, you know, a sausage or bacon or whatever. They're doing like bacon sausage wraps and stuff like that. Bacon or sausage wrapped in bacon or something like that. And then deep fried. It's so much better to have something with fiber in it. Some kind of fruit, a vegetable would be a much better way to go on phase 1.
A nice arugula salad with some onions, maybe some vinegar and olive oil, maybe tomato or 2. That's perfect.
Yeah. My daughter makes tomato, cucumber, and onions. Just tomato, cucumber, and onions with vinegar on it. And I took the vinegar out and I put lemon juice instead. And it's really good. It's a great salad, a great snack too.
One of the last times you and I saw each other, we were talking about our garden. And so I have all these cherry tomatoes. So I have cherry tomatoes, onions, and then a little bit of lime and salt. Oh, so delicious, bright and flavorful. And
yeah. And lots of fiber, low in sugar, good nutrition. Yeah.
So real quick, I got some carb counts for these. Like black beans, 1 cup of black beans would be 41 grams of carbs, but 15 grams of fiber. So you get to subtract the 15 from the 41, which will leave you 26 if my math is right. And pinto beans, 45 minus 15. So, I mean, you could probably still eat like a 1/4 cup. And I'm assuming this is cooked, the cooked amount, not pre-cooked. So yeah, it is cooked. So it's not a lot, but with that fiber really does help though. But yeah, it is probably more for phase 2.
Yeah.
Fiber supplements help?
Yeah, actually fiber supplements are great. They're fine. One of the problems with fiber supplements is they usually contain a lot of sugar. So if you get like those psyllium seed, one brand name would be Metamucil, for example. A lot of them have, you know, for every teaspoon of fiber, there's 2 teaspoons of sugar. So that's something like that. So, but if you get the ones that are pure fiber without sugar, those are okay too. But, you know, I have this idea, this theory that I'm kind of working on in my head, and that is that there's something about the whole food, and the whole food is the water that's in it. And you know, water is not water. You know, chemically, if you get H2O is H2O is H2O is H2O. But there's been a whole bunch of studies on where the water comes from. It reacts differently in different ways. And they aren't things that we have a measurable way of looking at here. So, for example, if you've ever done homeopathy, and you say it's, you know, 100x, that means it's been diluted 10 to 1, 10 times to make it 100x. And in other words, in chemistry, if they were try to measure one of those molecules of astragalus that's in that 100x astragalus homeopathic remedy, they would find 1 molecule of astragalus in the whole vial of 10 cc's or whatever it is. And they say, well, that's ridiculous. There's nothing in there. But there's something about the water that connects to it that changes things. And there was some research done in Japan about that, about water exposed to different emotions would create a different kind of crystal when it froze. And so that, just having read a lot of that stuff about water, I think that there's something to taking in the whole tomato with the water and everything, and not having those dried tomatoes and reconstituted fruit juice and like dried stuff all the time. And if you have that occasionally, that's fine. So the fiber You can get a whole bunch of fiber from dried apricots. You're getting a lot of sugar too, though. But you get a whole bunch of fiber, but there's something about the water in there that you're eating. The water takes in, and I don't know if you've ever had this, but if I eat an apple, it will satisfy my thirst better than drinking a whole cup of plain water from the tap. I don't know. It's kind of a theory that I'm working on, that taking in the whole fruit with the water is really a good idea.
Interesting.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synacroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synacroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synacroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synacroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those two together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synacroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synacroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synacroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
I'll have to put that.
All right.
Vegetables and stuff.
I am going to be, what do you call it? Gestapo here on talking about the type 2 basics and get into questions because we've got a lot of them and I don't want to miss any. So first off, Lavelle, age 86. I've been on insulin for at least 20 years, but I cannot detect any effect from my own production of insulin. How do I get it produced by my beta cells?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. So first you would need to know if your beta cells are making insulin, because it doesn't matter how long you've been on insulin, you still have beta cells. And in fact, people who were told that they have autoimmune pancreatitis and their beta cells are completely lost, if you get the antibodies down, you can actually get function back in the pancreas again. So that's been shown in the beta cells of the pancreas. So, and that's been shown in animal studies. So we know it's possible. And so the first thing is to know if you're making your own insulin. And the way to do that is to just do a simple test called a C-peptide test. The C-peptide is the part of the insulin that's broken off. So, and then your body uses the insulin, and the C-peptide is a waste protein. It actually has some functions, but it's the broken off part from the pancreas. When you inject insulin, when you're using like insulin, Humulin or Novolog or whatever insulin, that doesn't have a C-peptide with it. So your C-peptide level tells you what your pancreas is making, and it only comes from your pancreas. So even if you're injecting insulin, it won't affect that C-peptide. So that would be the first step. And then if you have none, then you start looking at why. And so then you have your doctor test you for antibodies. And there's something called insulin antibodies, and then there's islet cell antibodies. And there's a series of antibody tests you can do to see if you have autoimmune autoimmune pancreatitis, essentially is what it is, or islet cell antibodies. So the testing there will be done depending on if you're making insulin. I've had plenty of people who've been on insulin for many years, and we find out that their pancreas is making insulin. We put them on phase 1 of the program, take them off insulin, and they're off insulin forever, and they do just fine. So first, do the test.
All right. We had a good question from Meg here that came in. Can you open up the Q&A, Dr. Saunders? It's kind of long and I don't want to read it all, but so her husband's on metformin.
My husband's on metformin, 500 milligrams each, one in the morning, the other at night. Since I asked my last question, how about his low evening blood sugar reading jumped by the morning? Okay, so in the evening, the blood sugar is lower than it is in the morning, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 hours after a meal, 116. So fasting is 157. Okay, so we actually talk about this a lot. Why does the blood sugar change so much? And so we like to think things are simple. You eat the sugar, the insulin is produced by your pancreas, and that makes the blood sugar go to this. But your blood sugar has multiple control systems. It's not just one. You're not just looking at insulin versus the amount of sugar you eat. Your muscles store glycogen. Your liver stores glycogen. Glycogen is like a starch that releases sugar into your body. So if your blood sugar starts dropping low, then your pancreas says, "Oh no, I need to make glucagon." And then what's glucagon? Well, glucagon is the other hormone that is opposite of insulin that's also made in the pancreas by the islet cells. And some people have intact glucagon production and some people don't make any glucagon. So there's all these weird things that can go on that interact that determine what your blood sugar is going to be. It's not as simple as just pure insulin glucose, or how much sugar you eat versus how much insulin you make. There's many more factors involved. So the question of the reason why is this is the interaction. It doesn't matter. All you really need to know is my fasting blood sugar between 70 and 90. That's all you need to know. All of the other stuff, if it jumps up to 150, goes down to 110, goes to 83, 2 hours after eating a meal, goes to 97. Why is that? Well, because you release a whole bunch of insulin and your blood sugar drops down to normal. And that's what it's supposed to do. Well, then why is it higher fasting? Well, because you're not making insulin, you're making glucagon. Glucagon tells the liver, make more sugar. So you're actually putting out your own sugar and not what you're eating. So that's why it happens. And it's a complex system. It's not a simple system. But the key is, what is your fasting blood sugar? Is it between 70 and 90? That's good. If it's higher than that, then stay on phase 1 until it is there.
Part of her question too was asking, it looks like the numbers have come down over the last week. And so at what point do you change the dose of metformin? Yeah.
Oh, okay. The metformin. Yeah. Talk to your doctor about metformin. When you start seeing your numbers, like the fasting number came down from 157 to around 102. And then after a meal, it's getting into the 80s and 90s. Then you may want to talk to your doctor and say, is this getting too low? I'm a little worried that I'm going to get hypoglycemic here. Should I stop the metformin? And that would usually be a good place to stop the metformin.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Very good. Yeah. And we do cover that in previous webinars as well. If you want to go to our YouTube channel, I'll plug this real quick. So bartonwebinar.com will link to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're watching this recording, you can register to watch us live on Zoom and have your questions answered. But yeah, go to bartonwebinar.com, find our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, and join our community. That's actually number 9 on my list of type 2 basics, is connection and community and coaching. And so being part of not being all by yourself on an island, but having that community of other people that are going through the same thing and experiencing results and that. So, while we're here, I wanted to share a testimonial that Sean shared, which was amazing. And it was, okay, so let me find the original here. 1 second. It's a really good one. So, okay, he found our program 2 weeks ago, completely by mistake. And this is his first Zoom with us. I can't believe how my world has changed since following your program for only a short time. My doctor is so shocked and supportive. Blood sugars have settled around 85 to 90 as a norm. And that's awesome. And
perfect.
Yeah, he's down 7 pounds. His sugars used to be around just under 200. He was eating a lot of carbs and processed foods, and he's drastically changed his diet. So, and he was having gut health issues, and that's improved as well. So that's awesome. And we're going to get on a call privately with Sean to record that. We want to get that, share that with others too. So, and if you have a testimonial from working with Dr. Saunders and our diabetes solution kit, then let us know. Put it in the chat. We'd love to hear it. So, all right.
Here's one that I got yesterday by email. This is a guy, Kenneth. Joe, I've not emailed you as I was waiting the result of blood work. I've been taking Synacroma now for about 60 days. My A1C was 7.2, and since taking Synacroma, I'm very happy to report it is now 5.6. My doctor said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up. Thank you, Joe. I'll keep it up by continuing to take Synacroma daily.
Awesome.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, 5.6 is non-diabetic. He's no longer diabetic.
That's awesome.
Officially.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is very good. So Synacroma, this was another one of the lists for basics. So nutritional deficiencies, and I saw a comment come in here about how God didn't make supplements, which is true. But I think she was referring to how we should get our nutrients in our foods. But one of the things, we've talked about this is a lot of our foods, or the soils that our food is grown in, has changed and been depleted a lot over the years. And so we're not getting the amount of chromium and vanadium and selenium that we need in our diet. So that's really why we have these supplements. And Dr. Saunders, he's not someone that loves.
I don't like supplements.
Yeah, you don't love supplements. If we can get them in foods. Yeah,
I don't take them, and I don't give them to other people unless I need them or I think they need them. That's it.
Right. But this Synacroma has like 6 ingredients and pretty simple formula, but it's meeting these key nutritional deficiencies that most people have. And the feedback and the stories that we get from people that take this, it's amazing. So, yeah, I just wanted to promote Synacroma. It's our #1 best-selling blood sugar supplement. We have thousands of people that are on monthly Autoship for this as well. And if you want this, just go to bartonnutrition.com. And also we have a nice little discount. If you use a coupon code webinar25, you'll get a additional 25% off. So, all right, let's get back to some questions here. Okay. So how does the keto diet, which promotes high fat, low carbs, affect insulin resistance? You kind of touched on that already, I think. So,
yeah, essentially what we start off with is the keto diet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of covered that already. So let's see. If you skip supper on fasting, can you drink water?
Oh, good question. Yes, you can. But remember, you want to go to bed ideally with an empty stomach. You make a hormone called ghrelin when the stomach is empty, and that includes water. But water is going to empty out really quickly. So if you drink something an hour before you go to bed or whatever, it's not going to be a problem at all. But yeah, especially like in the last hour before bed, don't drink water.
Here's a real interesting one from Paul. So I just had a bout with the flu. My blood sugar readings were out of sight. Fasting was 180 or higher, and after meal readings were in the 200s. Is this normal? I don't know if we've talked about that when you get sick.
Yeah. Oh, that's really important. Thank you, Paul. Yes, when you get sick, you release a whole bunch of adrenaline and cortisol. Remember, when you're stressed, you can have stress-induced diabetes. We talked about that on several programs, and I told you about Julie that was fighting with her daughter, and her daughter moved out, and her diabetes disappeared. It went away completely. That is stress-induced diabetes, and because stress causes insulin resistance. Cortisol causes insulin resistance. So, so the flu is a stressor on the body, or any illness. So if you have a significant illness and you've stressed the body, you're going to get more insulin resistance by a lot. And so all of a sudden your blood sugars are 200s and everything. And it's like, what the heck? And you can't get it down. Even if you're injecting insulin or whatever, it's not going to get better until the stress goes away. So when your flu resolves and everything's okay and you're back to normal, then it should go down to normal again. That's a great question. That's actually something people should know, especially if they're prone to insulin resistance. You know, why when this happens, you know, some kind of stressor like an illness, does my blood sugar jump way up and I didn't eat anything? It's not just food, guys. There's a whole interaction of hormones and things that affect the blood sugar.
Yeah.
Draw a picture of like a control panel and then name all the things that are contributing to insulin production, like a lever. This is on and off. You turn them on and off with these things. Just something in my head.
Chris wants to know if there's good shark fishing in Santa Barbara.
You know, I don't know. We used to fish off the pier, and we caught a shark once, a sand shark, and some guy came running over, goes, oh, because we didn't know what to do. We were going to throw it back, so we were talking about throwing it back. And one of the fishermen on the pier came running over and goes, "Can I have that shark?" And I'm like, "Sure." So he took out this whole kit of things. He had a cutting board and this super sharp knife, and he just filleted that thing right in front of us, threw it under ice. And he goes, "If you don't do this right away immediately, then the meat's no good." And so, and he had it all packed on ice in like 2 minutes. I don't know. It was like so quick. We watched the whole thing. Wow. But yeah, so there's some shark fishing, but I don't know if there's a lot.
I think he wants to come visit you. So,
hey, you know what? I got room in my house.
Hey, there you go. You could go shark fishing together. Well, so Chris is one of our best friends of the program here. He has an amazing story. We've posted his video on our YouTube channel. Highly recommend you go watch it. It's just amazing. We have a 3-minute version and a 87-minute version. So the 87 one is awesome. I mean, they're both awesome.
Didn't he send us a picture? He caught a baby shark somewhere in Florida.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So super inspiring. Go find that video from Chris Bornman.
Yeah, baby shark. Okay,
right,
now it's stuck in your head. It's never going to go away.
Oh, you guys getting us off the rails here. I started it, so it's my fault. Okay, Patrick. Hello, Patrick. Good to see you all. He's one of our regular attenders as well. So Patrick requested an insulin test on his last checkup, and it came back with an 11, and they said normal was below 19. So is 11 good?
Okay, if that's a fasting specimen, in other words, if you have been fasting and your stomach's empty and you hadn't eaten in more than 8 hours, ideally it should be around 5. 11's okay. Below 10 is actually good. Yes, normal is almost to 20. Some labs put it at 25. But that's, you have to think about that because they're using averages over the population. And when you have 1/3 of the population, and now we're getting close to 1/2 of the population with insulin resistance, then that skews the number towards the high side of your insulin is going to tend to be higher because the general population has a higher insulin level that are considered normal. So, but the optimum place to be is still right around 5. So 11 is still an indication of a little bit of insulin resistance.
So this is a good topic because not a lot of people get their insulin checked. And so
yeah.
It's good to get some numbers here. And he said he rechecked it. It was 11.7. And so, okay, so you've talked about how you can order that test from your doctor. And let's say you get your results back like Patrick and it's 11, it's 16. What are some other things we can be doing to lower that?
Phase 1, the purpose for phase 1 of the diabetes solution kit is to get that insulin down into the 5 range. You don't have to keep measuring your insulin. I don't do that for hardly anybody. But if you know, like once a year, I might test the insulin. I usually do, but if your blood sugars are consistently in the 70 to 90 range when you're fasting, then it's very likely your fasting insulin is getting down into the below 10 range, and ideally in the 5 or 6, 7 range.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good question on net carbs here from Sean. Sean is the one that just shared that great testimonial with us. He read that diabetics should not pay attention to net carbs at all. Same people said that net carbs is a term created by the food industry, and there isn't enough science to support the notion of subtracting fiber from the total carbs. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's misguided, because we don't use fiber for energy. It's not sugar. It's actually, it feeds the good bacteria in your intestines, and it doesn't increase your sugar in your body. In fact, the fiber in the food, if you take the net carbs and you say, okay, this food has 20 grams of carbohydrates and 10 of those are fiber, you will have a slower, a less insulin response and a better blood sugar than if you just ate 10 grams of pure sugar, of pure carbohydrate, starch or sugar. Because the fiber actually slows the response, the sugar spike, it slows it down and stops it from peaking out. So, the net carbs it's a good idea, and the research pretty much shows that. So I don't know who's saying you shouldn't take them out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any reason for thinking that way.
Okay. All right. Another question from Meg. What's the situation about allulose, a new natural sweetener?
Okay. Allulose is a sugar. It's just a sugar that it still tastes sweet, but we can't use it. And this is tried in many other ways. Xylitol is one of them. There's levulose, the sugars have a right-handed and left-handed. I always mixed up. When I was in the Air Force, they would say left face, and I would be the one turning right. I hated that. But sugar has a right-handed and a left-handed form, and the right hand works and the left hand doesn't. So but it still tastes sweet. So allulose is a similar kind of thing. It's a sugar that tastes sweet, but we can't use it. And one of the problems that's always been found with these sugars is that they mess up the intestinal bacteria, because the intestinal bacteria have the same problem. Their enzymes won't use the left-handed form. So you're killing off all of those bacteria that would have used that kind of sugar, because you can't use that sugar, you can't absorb it, so it goes down into your large intestine, and then it kills off your bacteria. So that's what's been found in the past, and I don't know if probably one of those things, if you use it occasionally, it's not going to be a big deal. But remember the sweet taste problem that we just talked about. The taste of sweet can increase your insulin resistance, so even the allulose might be an issue. All
right. Okay, a good question from Robert. How good is fiber in juicing, or how important?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so when you juice something, you're extracting the water, which is awesome, and most of the nutrients, which is awesome, and all that is great. And you're also getting the fiber in the juice called soluble fiber, and that's good, and that's all good. But the process of taking out all the insoluble fiber is taking out probably what I think is kind of the important part of why you're eating. Like if you're celery, you take celery juice, and that's great. You're getting a lot of soluble fiber. There's not a lot of nutrition, but there's potassium and stuff in the celery juice. But then all that fiber that you're leaving behind is the stuff that goes through your large intestine and grows good bacteria, The soluble fiber does some of that too. But the insoluble fiber also helps you have good bowel movements. So I'm not a big fan of juicing all the time. I think eating it is better, and then juicing sometimes is fine. My wife, though, I got to tell you, she has been suffering with fatigue and that kind of stuff. And she went on this program with celery juice, and she says it works great. She drinks 16 ounces of celery juice. Now, you take 16 ounces of celery juice, and how much it takes, like a whole bunch of celery to make that 16 ounces. And there's no way she's going to munch on that. You know, there's no way she would get that much celery down eating it, right? Mm-hmm. And getting all the fiber. So in juicing it, it's pretty easy to just drink it down. So you get all that nutrition without having to munch.
Here's a really good one. So Andy says Libre, which is a blood sugar monitor, suggests that blood sugars should be between 100 and 140. Are we really looking for 85-ish?
Okay. 100 to 140 is the safe zone for people who have diabetes, because what they're trying to do is avoid hypoglycemia, which is the 40, 20, 30, 20, 30, 40 range. So, so if you're using insulin or something like that, and you're getting below 100, then they worry about getting too low. So keeping it in that 140, 120, 140 range is it's a safe thing to do. But if you're not injecting insulin, it's not an issue. In fact, the studies show it's actually good for you to get a little low sometimes.
Why is that?
Oh, okay, Cheryl, good question. So they did this study with rats, right? And the issue that we have with this hyperglycemia, having high blood sugar all the time, is that there's certain areas of the body that require a constant supply of sugar, but the sugar can't cross the blood-brain barrier. So it has to have glucose transport proteins to suck the sugar through the barrier into the brain, for example, or the kidneys, or the heart. This constant supply. There's these proteins that are insulin independent. They don't even need insulin. So you can get sugar into your brain without insulin, but it still requires a protein to bring it from the blood into the cells, right? What happens when your blood sugar is high a lot, then those proteins are less and less and less and less. So your brain starts starving in a sea of sugar. There's all this sugar out there, but you can't get any into the brain because you have so few of those glucose transport proteins that have to bring that sugar in, right? So they did a study with rats, and they found that if they gave them hypoglycemia, and we're talking 40, and they kept them at 40 for 3 days. And after 3 days, the rats were up running around and they're acting normal rat-like behavior, right? So they did a biopsy of the blood-brain barrier, and they found 10 times the number of glucose transport proteins per square millimeter of the blood-brain barrier than they had before. So in other words, the rats trained their body to use, even though their blood sugar was low, they increased their glucose transport proteins so that they could bring sugar in. Well, why is that important? Well, people with diabetes, what's the number one cause of Alzheimer's disease? It's diabetes. Why? Because the brain is starving. You don't have enough glucose transport proteins. So when you get hypoglycemia, you upregulate the glucose transport proteins and get your brain functioning normally again. The same with other nerves in your body, the same with the kidneys, the same with the heart. So having low blood sugar helps to normalize the other side, not the blood sugar side, but the other side, the cellular side of the energy. Does that answer your question, Cheryl?
Fascinating. It sure is. If you want to be smart, no, I'm just kidding. Keep low blood sugar. Literally, it could actually help your brain to have blood sugar.
Yes.
So here's a good question that is sort of philosophical, I'd say. So Andy said, my doctor tells me that once a diabetic, always a diabetic. Can you talk about that? Like, there are some doctors out there, and what do you do if that's your doctor?
Okay. It's absolutely true. Once a diabetic, always a diabetic. But you can have what's called remission. So the word remission is you still have diabetes, but nobody can find it. It's like when somebody has cancer and they go into remission, then you say, well, you're still a cancer patient. We just can't see it anywhere. We don't know where it is. So you get to the point of, you say, yes, doctor, yes, I'll always be a diabetic, but I don't want to have any of the complications of diabetes, and I don't want to have high blood sugar. And I want to be able to, the next time you test for diabetes, it would say non-diabetic on the test. And so even though I know that there's somewhere inside of me that diabetes exists, that there's no way anybody's going to ever find it.
Oh, that's really good. I like how you said that.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synacroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synacroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synacroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synacroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those 2 together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synacroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synacroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synacroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
Another question is, Scott is on Farxiga, which is an SGLT2 inhibitor. What do you think about that drug as a temporary solution?
The sitagliptin is it's one of those, we were talking about how complex the system is for blood sugar. This is an inhibitor of sitagliptin, and what it does is it prevents a protein that allows your body to make more sugar, or causes your body to make more sugar. So, like we were talking about, like the first question that we had, that really complex one that she sent in her husband's all his blood sugars, and it was higher fasting than it was after eating. What the heck, you know? A lot of that has to do with sitagliptin. That's one of those things. So what happens if you block that, then the blood, then your fasting blood sugar is better, and you go, wow, that's cool. My fasting blood sugar is better because my glucagon is no longer working, because my liver is no longer able to make more sugar. Okay, that's true, but it's not an answer. It's not a long-term solution by any means. In fact, I would say you're so much better off using metformin instead of the sitagliptin inhibitors, and then going on the phase 1 of the reversal program.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're not going to be able to get to all the questions here. So Cheryl, do you have any that stick out that we should ask here that have come in before we wrap up?
I just was interested in the one that talked about drinking only alkaline water. What is your opinion about drinking only alkaline water?
Okay, so we've brought this up several times on the program before. Alkaline water, there is some evidence that having your body more alkaline prevents kidney damage and helps your sugar metabolism to improve generally. So And especially with kidney damage, if you have like borderline kidney function, you can prevent the progression to dialysis by having a more alkaline body. What's really interesting about the alkaline waters, all the research that I could find that showed that difference was done with alkaline water by putting a half a teaspoon of baking soda in a cup of water. And that's what they drank every day. That was their alkaline water every day. And it seemed to work by the studies. And so a lot of people that make alkaline water are using those studies that weren't actually done with the other way is to separate the hydrogen from the hydroxide and then put the hydroxide in so that you have real alkaline water where your pH just goes up from without adding anything like sodium bicarbonate. So that is so it may work. I just don't have any specific research. There's a lot of research out there on alkaline water generally. And yes, an alkaline system, a body slightly alkaline does work better, but you're much better off, I think, not just with the water, but avoiding high protein diets, avoiding high carbohydrate diets so that you don't have all that acid in your body.
Good answer.
All right. Well, hey, let's hear it for Dr. Saunders, everyone. Let's get a virtual round of applause. Just put something in the chat. We really appreciate you, Dr. Saunders. We're going to honor your time and let you get off to seeing patients in the flesh. And so, but Cheryl and I will hang on here for a little bit and talk through some other of these questions.
Okay.
Resources.
Awesome.
So thank you. We'll see you.
All right. Take care.
Okay. All right. Well, Dr. Saunders is off, but what a great call it's been so far. We haven't been able to get to all the questions, but I just wanted to say, like, we have a lot of these questions. If you go to bartonwebinar.com, we have a frequently asked questions section. We're adding to that each week. I think we have 8 or 9 of them up there now. And yeah, lots of thank yous. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate that. And but also, like, our YouTube channel, you can go back and you can be like Chris and watch all of our recordings. Thank you, Chris, for doing that. I think Chris probably knows me better than I know myself as much as he's been watching us. So but no, you can watch these YouTube recordings, get your questions answered. The more information that you learn from Dr. Saunders and from our program, like, you're just going to be in a great position to, like he said, be in remission from diabetes. I really like how he said that. So yeah, that was cool. Cheryl, it's been great having you on here.
Good to be with you and Dr. Saunders. He's always so full of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you're a natural here. So, I mean, we get you on here. I think I'm just going to retire for a while, and you and Leslie and Dr. Saunders can handle this. You don't need me. So I just provide comedic relief or whatever, comic relief every once in a while. But let's see if we've got any questions in here that I might be able to answer. Meg asked about psyllium as a fiber. How much extra liquid is needed when taking it? I don't know. That'll be a good one for next time, possibly. And we are working on a fiber supplement. We're actually going to combine fiber with a greens product, so you can get both the nutrients from the greens as well as the fiber that Dr. Saunders has been talking about. And it's really hard to get enough fiber in your diet, especially without the sugar, like you said. Metamucil it's got a lot of fiber, but it's got a lot of sugar, and it's got some other fillers and additives that aren't so great. So we're working on something, and we are going to do 2 flavors, green apple and Arnold Palmer. So that's exciting.
Oh, 2 flavors, not just one. Nice.
Yeah, why not?
Sure. I'll take an Arnold Palmer.
All right. I will get you as many as you would like. Let's see.
Well,
okay.
Says she's been doing phase 1 for a week and a half, lost 8 pounds, and cravings for sweets stopped. That's what happens, isn't that? I don't eat until noon, easy for her. She cuts off eating at 7:30 p.m. Is that okay? I do drink hot tea with monk fruit stevia around 9 p.m.
So this one I can answer because I've heard Dr. Saunders answer it a few times. So he highly recommends eating breakfast and lunch, but then skipping dinner or eating an earlier dinner. And so, yeah, if you're done eating by 6 o'clock, that is typically the rule, so that your stomach is empty by 10 o'clock. So you can go to bed by then. So that's kind of like the ideal. So if you moved your eating times up 2 or 3 hours each, maybe, it's okay to eat before noon, but it's better to fast at night and evening and throughout the night as well. So, and then the question about drinking hot tea with monk fruit or stevia around 9 o'clock, Dr. Saunders would say that taste of sweet can be an issue with insulin. And so if you really need it, then it's probably not that big of a deal, but he wants us to minimize the number of times throughout the day that we're eating or drinking things that are sweet, which produces an insulin response in that. So my wife likes to drink hot water, and she's gotten into that just all by itself, no tea or anything. So that might be an option you could try if you like having something like that. But yeah, let's see here. I can't answer the question on glipizide, but maybe we can get to that one next time on Coup. Let's see. So I've got a couple bottles of chromium picolinate, wondering how helpful this is for type 2 diabetes to take it on its own without the other supplements that you recommend for this program. So that's probably, let me see how much we have. So I think it's 200. Yeah, we have 200 micrograms of chromium picolinate in Synacroma. And if that's all you're taking, it's, it's better than nothing, I would say. And, but it, when our product has the cinnamon bark extract and vitamin D, vitamin K, selenium, and vanadium. So all of those together, just kind of like, I'd say maximize the benefits. But if you're just doing the chromium picolinate, I would just say like measure it and see how that affects your numbers. So nothing wrong with that. And also make sure you get it from a good source. Like there's some that are questionable, what's all in it. And there's a few good brands out there that, sell only those particular things that are high quality, like Swanson's is a good one that I've told people. But our manufacturing facility, we've toured it with Dr. Saunders. We look at all the things that they do for testing and making sure that there aren't any toxins and various things in there. So everything is really high quality. So that's why we promote our own stuff, because we know what's in it. So
it's a top-notch facility, and their standards. So if you want to talk about world standards, the best standards from what I understand is Australia. They have the strictest standards for supplements, and they follow the Australian standards. So you are getting a clean and a pure supplement. And we've seen them turn some of our ingredients away because what they ordered is not what they got. So we are not fooling around with anything that we put into our supplements. We want the best, and we require it, and they make sure that it happens.
Yeah. And that's a great point. I don't even know if I knew that about Australia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it was one of the first times I toured, they mentioned that.
Ah, okay. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's important that you have all of that, the high quality, because you can take stuff. And the other thing is, like, a lot of supplement companies, they'll say something has it in there, but it actually doesn't. And like, you have to do third-party testing, which we do just to verify that all the ingredients are actually what they say they are. We've heard some wild stories when there was last year, early on in COVID, there was a shortage of turmeric. And when you tested it, it takes a scientist trained eye to see that it's actual turmeric. And there was a lot of fraud going on. People were basically painting various, I can't remember what it was, but painting things yellow to make it look like turmeric. I can't remember if it was some cheap, substitute that wouldn't have had any effect.
Like that or whatever.
Yeah, sawdust. I don't know. It was something like that. So So you don't have to worry about that with our products. Plus, all of our products come with a 365-day money-back guarantee. So we're pretty generous with that. All right, let's see. We'll just keep rolling here. I mean, this isn't hurting anybody, I don't think.
Still some few left on here, don't we?
Yeah. So Parkinson's, that is beyond my pay grade. I don't have an answer for that. Yeah.
So from what I understand, my dad had Parkinson's and he passed away from Parkinson's, but there are different varieties of Parkinson's. My dad had one based because he was exposed to heavy pesticides when he was younger, and that caused his Parkinson's. There was Parkinson's that's caused by heavy metals, and then there are Parkinson's caused by other things. Now, Dr. Saunders did mention that your lack of sugar in your brain can cause damage. So now Alzheimer's is considered type 3 diabetes because you don't get enough energy into your brain. So I don't know if you would call Parkinson's exactly a diabetes related problem, but it can probably contribute to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a good one. David, if you want to hop on next week, we'd love to have you ask that again, and we'll get Dr. Saunders to chime in on that. So your question came in kind of late here. All good. So let's see. Okay.
One of the things that I was going to say that I remember Dr. Saunders saying is sleep matters to your brain. He said a lot of the greats in the world do wonderful things, and they survive on 3, 4, 5 nights of sleep a night. But you know what happens when they get older? They almost all developed Alzheimer's because they did not sleep enough.
Interesting. Yeah, Dr. Saunders talked about sleep last time, I think, and how as you get older, you don't need as much. So it's really like measuring your energy throughout the day. So, yeah. Here was an interest. Oh, okay. So last week we offered to give away those diabetes detox masterclass videos to anybody that would go into our Facebook channel. And I think with Leslie's surgery and my crazy schedule, we probably didn't get those sent out yet. So Meg, if you want to just make sure you're in the Facebook group and leave a comment. And then Cheryl, can you take care of all those people and figure out how to get that to them?
I'm writing a note to myself right now.
Excellent day. All right. Okay, Kalista, I finished phase 1 with good numbers, 9 to 5s, but then I went back and was having 13s again. So I went back on Forxiga. I'm now getting 8 and 9s again, but that's with the Forxiga. What should I drop that again? So we can't tell you, and we'll put our disclaimer at the end of the call here. This webinar is for informational purposes only, and we don't know each of your medical histories and all that. And Dr. Saunders isn't your personal doctor, but so you need to work with your own healthcare practitioner. But I know Dr. Saunders would just recommend stay in that phase 1 program, and that really should get your blood sugar numbers down into those levels as your body is burning off that excess sugar and fat that's been stored. And then you can work with your doctor to reduce your medications. But phase 1 is just 20 grams of carbohydrates, net grams per day. And then also combining that with the 6-10 reset, where you're eating your food before 6 o'clock and going to bed on an empty stomach at 10. And you should see your numbers really come into normal range. And then, if the numbers are still wonky, look for areas of stress in your life. What's keeping you up at night? What's making you toss and turn? What's causing any stress or anxiety? That all raises your cortisol levels, and hormones can definitely throw things out of whack. So, but yeah, phase 1, that's the key. And that's found in the Diabetes Solution Kit. Someone said this book is way bigger than the one they got in the mail. Maybe my head looks small or something, but I put it back like this. Yeah. This is how big it is if you get the workbook form. So somebody asked where Dr. Saunders is located. He practices in California. So he's in the Santa Barbara area, and I'm not sure where he goes to. He's at a nursing home on Thursdays where he was calling in from today. I'm not exactly sure where that is located, but somewhere in California. So, But with that, I think we're going to call it a day. So this is great. Cheryl, you're awesome. Thanks for joining us and hopping in. Relief pitcher for Leslie as she heals up. So
Cheers for Leslie for sure.
yeah, and I think next Tuesday we're going to have Dana hop on and we're going to talk about low carb cooking. And I'm not sure if we're going to do it live yet or not. We might just record it, post it to YouTube on our first go around, and then maybe make that available to be live in the future. So
That's awesome. Low carb cooking. So way to go.
yes,
A lot of people need ideas for sure.
yeah, lots of good questions that have come in. Like, how do you eat, or how do you make a low carb bread or a substitute for that? Because, like, you know, everybody likes bread. So, okay, well, let's call it a day. We're going to wrap this up. I'm going to hit stop recording, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care. God bless. Bye, everyone.